Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Netflix original action movie, Gunpowder Milkshake, what I thought about it, what to know before you watch it with no spoilers, as well as a handful of other movies on streaming, similar enough that you might enjoy watching before or after Gunpowder Milkshake. Gunpowder Milkshake is a fantasy action movie starring Karen Gillan, Lena, Heady, Carla Gugino, Michelle Yeoh, Angela Bassett, and Paul Giamatti. And this is an over-the-top movie. It does not take place in our reality. It's got this beautiful color palette. Every single shot in this movie looks good. For a Netflix original, especially one they just released in the middle of the week with really little to no fanfare, it's got an incredible look to it. Every single shot looks great. Not only is there a great color palette and there's just vibrancy to it, but the locations that they scouted for this place are fantastic. Even some of the ones you don't spend much time in, every single one looks cool. And the movie itself has a cool vibe. It's about some assassins and this corporation and all this sort of, again, fantasy stuff that is relevant to real life, but it's a lot more like John Wick in the sense that it's this elaborate underworld with all these different rules and things like that. So if you like that element of John Wick, I think you're gonna like a lot of things about Gunpowder Milkshake, but it is hard to make too many comparisons to John Wick. This is one of those movies where it seems like the filmmakers don't know how guns work because there's a lot of silliness to it, but you could also say the same thing about a lot of classic Western movies, so it's not a terrible thing, but there are only so many comparisons you can make to something like John Wick. Gunpowder Milkshake is also incredibly silly. A lot of the predicaments that the main characters get themselves into and the way that they solve these, we'll call them predicaments, are really ridiculous and over the top, could never happen, but if you buy into that early on, and the movie does sort of ask you to do that with this almost comic book style cinematography. But once you buy into it, you realize the stupidest stuff that they're doing is really there to help set up some just interesting fight sequences and things like that. So again, you're not getting really great choreography, but you're getting interesting setups and plot developments along the way, even if the way that you get there is basically ridiculous. So realism goes out the window with this one, but there are some interesting characters. Karen Gillan really carries the movie. She's on screen in almost every shot, and she does a good job. She's also cute in that little orange bowling jacket. And I think most of the cast did a really good job. I do think Paul Giamatti actually outacted the movie. That's not necessarily a compliment. He was very, very serious, and his performance didn't quite match the tone, but him being in it actually reminded me of Shoot 'em Up, a great action movie with Clive Owen that is just silly, over the top, more so than Gunpowder Milkshake, but they managed to make it work. I did see it on Tubi recently, but as of right now, it is not available on any streaming services in the US, so you would have to rent it. Likewise goes for Hotel Artemis, which had a lot in common with Gunpowder Milkshake. It was a little slicker and everything than Gunpowder Milkshake, but it also wasn't quite glued together as well as I would have liked. I enjoyed a lot of things about that movie, yet it's not a strong, cohesive movie overall. However, it's got more in common with Gunpowder Milkshake than anything else. I could easily see these two taking place inside the same universe. But if you don't want to pay extra, you want to catch something that's included on streaming, I recommend checking out Guns Akimbo on Prime Video. I had a blast watching that one. It suffers from a lot of the same problems Gunpowder Milkshake had, but I enjoyed the overall aesthetic and sort of cyberpunky kind of vibe from that movie a little bit more than I did the vibe in Gunpowder Milkshake. Terminal, starring Margot Robbie, is on Hulu. This one is the closest one to Gunpowder Milkshake, except I think it's even a little bit weaker than Gunpowder Milkshake. Gunpowder Milkshake has a ton of really wild action in it. Even if it's not been choreographed to the standards of today, it is more of a blast of a movie, whereas Terminal is a little bit more of an espionage, a little more talky kind of thing. But both of these movies feel almost like they could take place within the same universe. So if you liked one, odds are you're gonna like the other. Hardcore Henry is a personal favorite of mine that is also on Netflix. I just find it to be done in a similar vein. Over-the-top action, blood, lots of bullets, a typical Darren Van Dam pick, but I think the experience of watching Hardcore Henry is much more intense and much more gratifying than Gunpowder Milkshake. Gunpowder Milkshake to me felt a lot like something I'd seen multiple times before, but it was saved by them injecting several clever things that I had never seen before in a movie. So it did have a lot of redeeming factors as well. And this is a fun genre. They sort of non-realistic, over-the-top action movies, but they're not always great. When you're doing a lot of ridiculous things, not everything is gonna work for every audience. And I think while movies like these are a lot of fun and I do enjoy them, they often get compared to superior movies like Sin City, Desperado, Kill Bill. They just can't compete with those. Not only were those movies made by maybe superior filmmakers, but a lot of things in those movies just work so well, and they're things that are very difficult to get to work. Gunpowder Milkshake is a good example of some things working, some things not. However, I feel if you generally like these types of movies, these silly over-the-top action movies, you could really enjoy this movie if you don't think too much about it, and especially if you don't have too many expectations going into it. So it is a recommendation from me, but not a strong one because I don't want you to go into it with too many expectations. On a side note, another one that could scratch that itch that just got added to Netflix is Major Grom, the Plague Doctor. This is a wild movie from Russia. It's got a lot of interesting elements, stunning look. I got a little lost at times because I think some things were lost in translation, but still a fun, big, blockbuster, sort of over-the-top spectacle experience included with Netflix. It was just added a week ago. So there you go, you got a quickie review for Gunpowder Milkshake along with a bunch of additional recommendations where you can watch them on streaming like I give you in almost every single video. If you're new here and you like this type of content, please consider clicking the subscribe button and click the little bell icon. That way you get notified when videos like this come out, and those movies are all still available where I said they are. The list of every movie discussed in this video is in the top pinned comment below, along with where you can currently catch them here in the US at least. But I will keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this quick Gunpowder Milkshake review, and you will see me on the next one.